Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Being with Bella podcast. My name is Isabella, but I also go by Bella. If you're new here, this podcast is like a portal into my inner world and my internal experiences, and me empowering myself and hopefully help other people do that as well. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about habits that I would like to end, specifically like thinking habits, and how I'm going to do that. I am Catholic, and so every year we have Lent, which is leading up to Easter, and it's like 40 days where you give up something or focus on a goal of yours. We give things up as a form of self-discipline, which is our way of giving back to Jesus, essentially, is the Catholic idea of it. But I think anyone can benefit from this, whether they're religious or not. I think that just the idea of self-discipline and giving up a habit or a ritual that is not healthy for you can be huge, and just having that self-discipline to do so is honestly the most difficult part of being able to give up those bad habits and being able to end those unhealthy and negative habits that are not empowering to your future, to your mental well-being, to your physical well-being. That is such a huge aspect of self-discipline, focusing on how can I end these habits that are not adding to my life, and how can I implement and increase the amount and frequency of habits that are adding to my life and are helping me manifest and create the future of my dreams, essentially, is where I wanted to go today. So I did a journal entry this morning. I have been in a bit of a rut for a while, kind of just like not feeling aligned with my true self. I kind of lost myself in a relationship. It's definitely my responsibility and my doing. And that actually gets me into where I wanted to go with this episode, because I could take one of two routes here. I could sit here and I could feel pity for myself. I could complain to God and complain to the universe, why is this happening to me? Why are you doing this to me? Why are you putting me through these difficult situations and these difficult experiences? I could sit here and complain and feel sorry for myself and victimize myself and blame the outside influences and the outside forces in the world for my internal struggles. I could sit here and do that. I could. That is an option. That's option one. Option two is I can zoom in onto myself and realize I have the power to decide to put energy into other things. I have the power to decide what I put my energy into. And for so long, I lost sight of that because I was scared. I let my fear of the unknown and of uncertainty get the best of me. Rather than facing my fears, I clung. I clung onto things outside of me and people outside of me. And I am so glad that I am in the place where I am now, because I never would have been the person that I am today if I had not gone through that relationship. I wouldn't have. It had a huge impact on me. I worked through a lot of trauma, a lot of struggles, a lot of attachment issues, was clinging so tight because I was like, I am not going to be okay. I did not trust that I was going to be fine without him in my life. I did not trust that I would be totally fine and totally healthy without this person in my life. Instead of focusing on my goals and my dreams and my future, I had lost myself in another person. I'm not going to sit here and criticize myself because I know that it's in the past. I'm in this moment right now. I am here. I am here. This is the here and now. I cannot do anything to change the past. All I can do is sit here and focus on my goals and my ambitions. If you're someone who naturally has energy and has a lot of thoughts running through their head and just constantly thinking, it can be really easy to project that energy onto yourself and trying to control the external and analyze situations on the external from you, rather than taking that and using that as a form of creativity, as a form of empowerment, we sometimes don't know how to fully live with our ability to think about things so thoroughly and so analytically. We sometimes don't know how to handle that. If you're a very analytical thinker like me, it is going to be so easy to just use that form of thinking in a negative fashion, but it can be just as easy to use that form of thinking to create a positive future for yourself and create happy moments for yourself right now in the present. That is kind of what this episode is about. I wrote a journal entry about what I'm going to give up for Lent. And Lent doesn't start for a couple of weeks. I think it's March 5th that it starts, but here is the journal entry. I'll read some of what I wrote. I'm just going to read a little bit of it. This is something that kind of sticks out to me and would be good to have in the podcast. I wrote, "My mind is a universe. My mind is where I live and spend the most of time." Can't read my own handwriting. I don't write neatest. Ending, letting my brain try to tear me down. Ending, seeking approval, validation, and reassurance from others. Giving up, consuming, and continuing to create. Redirecting the power of my mind, aiming it at something that energizes me and inspires me. So essentially, everything that had the word ending in front of it are like things that I'm going to give up for Lent. The way that I think about it, I don't know if this is the necessarily traditional Catholic way to think about Lent, but the way I think about it is yes, you're giving something up, but you're giving something up in order to add something else to your life. You're giving something up in order to add something positive to your life. So you can focus on what you're going to give up and focus on like restricting yourself from doing that thing. But I personally think the aim needs to shift from focusing on restricting and sacrificing. Maybe this doesn't align completely with the Catholic belief system. I am not like a super strict Catholic, but I guess in Catholicism it is to make a sacrifice because Jesus sacrificed his life for us. But Jesus also wants us to be at peace. Jesus wants us to trust in him and trust in God and trust in their plan for us. And sometimes it's hard and difficult to do that if we are constantly focused on the negative and the restricting. So focusing on, well, I'm restricting this negative thing or this bad habit because I want to add this positive habit into my life, or I want to essentially, you take something out of your life that's negative because you want your life to be positive. And I think that it makes it a lot easier to take out the negative when we add something positive to replace that. And so, kind of what I did with this journal entry is yes, I focused on the things that I'm quote unquote going to give up, but I also focused on what I'm aiming my energy at in lieu of those, in lieu of the negativity, what I'm aiming my energy at instead. And I think that's so huge to kind of realize too in your mindset is like, yes, I can give this thing up, but why am I giving this up? What feeling am I seeking? What goal am I seeking? What ambition am I seeking? Maybe you are doing it simply to sacrifice something for Jesus, and if that is the case, then this might not apply to you. I don't really have like a strict label on my religion, and so I do have my own way of viewing it. But yeah, think of it as re-aiming your energy towards the positive. It's almost like you have a superpower, and your superpower is you can turn any situation into whatever reality you want it to be. So if it's a negative situation, like, okay, you got dumped, that's negative, that sucks, but it takes you one step closer to the love of your life. Flip the reality of that situation, flip the reality by looking at what is going to come next that is positive and knowing that positive is going to come next and knowing that if you're in this negative headspace, if you're in this rut, that does not mean that there is not positive on the other side. You cannot have a rainbow without a little bit of rain. Sometimes you have to go through the bad, you have to go downhill before you can go uphill. You need to trust in whatever it is that you trust in, even if you don't believe in higher power. You need to just trust in yourself that like you are going to get through this and you are going to create the life you desire and the life you love because you are strong enough to do so and you are ambitious enough to do so and you are hardworking and you are dedicated to it. Push yourself out of your comfort zone in a way that adds positivity to your life, not in a way that drags you down, not in a way that brings you further from who you truly are. Push yourself towards your divine self, towards your true self, towards your authentic self. That's what you need to do. Is it worth staying small and fearing judgment and fearing negative outcomes? Is it worth living in defense mode and living in fear just to protect yourself from something that might not even actually happen, that could hurt your feelings or make you sad? Is it really worth living your whole life scared and meek and having walls up and shields up and this invisible force field around your heart because you are scared of something? I don't think so. I don't think we are put here on this earth to live in defense mode, to live in fear. The only time we truly need to be in defense mode is when there is a physical threat to our physical safety. That is it. And the way our society has evolved is people okay, well, this could turn into a whole nother tangent, but we are not meant to live this way. We are not meant to live this way. We are meant to be in nature. We are meant to be in the wild. We are animals. We are humans, but we are also animals, and we are meant to be connected to nature and to the different seasons. That is my theory as to part of why there is so much more capacity for mental health issues and for anxiety and just creating problems out of any situation. It's like we are so powerful and able to do that because we're trapped in these little boxes. I'm in a box, like I'm in a cube. It's just flabbergasting to me. Like, I'm grateful that I'm not out in the cold, but it's also flabbergasting. With this evolution in infrastructure and technology, we also have started to seek happiness in possessions and in external circumstances. And I just think it's so huge to think about. There are people who lived thousands of years ago with nothing but clothes and food and water. The first homes built in the United States were built in the 1600s. Think about how long people lived without possessions like those, without like a shelter that's like built out of bricks and a shelter that has a heater and air conditioning, and it's just the concept of it is so fascinating to me that we have evolved this way, how consumerist we have become, and how money is essentially the key to survival, especially in the United States. Fascinating. That's only our reality because we made it that way. We could have created any reality we wanted, and we chose to create this competitive economy where your worth and your satisfaction in life is basically dependent on how much money you make. We could have created any reality we wanted, and that's what we chose. Anyways, back to the point of the podcast. Do what you gotta do to create the reality you desire with where the world is at in this moment. Because obviously, we are not living whenever the first house was built, we are living in this present moment. And so we gotta come back to that and do what we can with the resources we have and the privileges we have. It's just interesting to me that having the things that some of us have is considered a privilege because it is a human right to exist on this earth. If you exist on this earth, you deserve to be here. You're here for a reason. So it's just crazy to me that we have to earn the right to survive, essentially. I hope that that left you thinking a little bit. I hope that that left you feeling a little bit empowered. I guess I didn't end that on a very like certain note. Like I didn't really conclude that in any way, but I feel like this just feels like a good place to end it. So I'm going to do so. Thank you so much for listening today. If you did and took the time to listen, thanks for keeping up with me on my little tangent. And I will talk to you next time. Love you so, so much. Mwah.